we have to say, it's time to stop now. It's time to go deeper inside. It's time to make sure that all these things that are not serving us needs to be shed. It needs to be cut. It needs to be removed so that we can become leaner. So that once we become leaner, we can start building that momentum faster. When we build that momentum faster, then we get to results sooner, and the results are more impactful.
Herman, we are live on Instagram, and we just want to say welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Human Blueprint. We're testing something new out this time. We decided to go live on Instagram. We wanted to give a behind-the-scenes look, so you guys are viewing the podcast that will be aired on Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday. So welcome. We hope to bring you some value, and let's jump right into it, Herman. So there's a lot going on in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody in the world is being impacted in some way, shape, or form by the coronavirus and by everything that's going on. And our whole mission with this episode is we want to help you really bring some light and positivity and some guidance in these times, because with great chaos and great problems also comes great opportunity. And I think right now it's an opportunity for people to really do some things that we're going to list out. So we're going to be listing out some things that you can start to apply while you have extra time. If you're in quarantine, if you're in a lockdown, I understand that it's not the greatest circumstance, but we're still blessed and fulfilled in some way, shape, or form. And we want to help you really make the most of this. So, Herman.
Yes.
How are you doing, and where do you stand with everything that's going on?
I think this is a golden opportunity for people to look inside. Most people live their life looking outside, chasing something. This is a golden opportunity for you to stop so that you can recuperate, so that you can refocus, so that you can establish a greater amount of value, so that when things get back a little bit better, and you go back into the marketplace, it's almost like a reset. It's almost like everybody starts from the same starting point. Everyone starts from the same starting point, that when the initial noise goes off or the gun goes off for us to run on that 100-meter dash or 200-meter dash, everybody's starting from the same point. And I feel if we can all understand, it depends on how much work we're putting in now. What are we doing now? What are we doing this exact moment to get better? What are we doing this exact moment to increase the value, so that when that starting point starts, we will be able to assess how far and how quick we can get ahead of those that are not preparing or not positioning themselves for the marketplace, for the world, for what they can contribute to the world.
Exactly. It goes back to what we've been talking about even on the past episode of the Inner Circle, positioning. And that's so important. And we just want to ask everybody, what are you doing to put yourself in a better position? Where are you at in the world? How has this impacted you? And what are you doing with your time now to really create a bigger impact and bring more value? So if you're on the live, leave a comment and let us know. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment below and let us know, because we really want to see where you're at. And I know that the very first thing that is on our list of things that you can do during this time is to improve yourself. So where should we start with that, Herman?
So Angelo, let's make this a little deeper. Where have you started? So maybe you give an example. Let's jump off with that. Let's put you on the spot.
I like it. So for me, self-improvement, recently has been really going back to a lot of the group coaching calls that we've done. And we've had we have years worth of content inside the Inner Circle. So for me, I've been applying that into my morning routine. So while I stretch, while I get ready for the day, or even have breakfast, I listen to those things and I listen to those calls. And it's amazing how much more they connect with me now as opposed to when we first did them, because I'm just a different person. So things connect differently. And then what I'll do is there may be that one or two thing that I hear in the episode that I know is like, okay, that's what I needed to hear. Like that's my weak point, or that's what I need to focus on today. And then I'll use that as something that I apply throughout the day to get better.
Well, I think that's very commendable and very, I would say, noble. But here's something that we could all be doing is following like what you said, is when we look back at this time, let's say it's a year from now, we look back. Do we want to say that we wasted all our time eating a month's worth or 2 months worth of snacks in a day or two? Do we want to really look back at the time and say we put on 20 pounds and we're out of shape and all of a sudden we have more health issues? Do we really want to look back and say, you know what, I could have done better, but I didn't? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Do we really want to be those people? Or do we want to be the people that says, you know what, I have procrastinated my whole life. I have always let things slide. I always let things go unaddressed. What better time now to get over a bad habit, to get over something that has been limiting us in almost every single area? Because most people watching this, yes, I'm talking to you. You are procrastinating. And here's the issue. Most of you have become so used to it, you don't even know you do it anymore. And for us, we have to say, it's time to stop now. It's time to go deeper inside. It's time to make sure that all these things that are not serving us needs to be shed. It needs to be cut. It needs to be removed so that we can become leaner. So that once we become leaner, we can start building that momentum faster. When we build that momentum faster, then we get to results sooner, and the results are more impactful. And I think if we can all learn from history, it would be we would always become better from whatever issues we go through. It's just going to build character. It's just going to make us stronger. But we as a collective have to do it together. It cannot just be one or two people doing it and everybody else is just being lazy. Everybody else is just, kicking it back, right? Everybody has to be proactive, right? Are you learning a new word in the language every day? Are you learning to learn something new about yourself every day? Are you learning to learn an actual new skill and master that skill, whether it be for playing the piano, whether it be learning something simple as copywriting, something simple as understanding how the markets work? Are you familiarizing yourself with how and what makes the world turn? Do you truly understand how economics work, from what they teach you in school to actually how they actually work, to how certain people in power make it work for their own, desire? And so for us, we have to say, you know what, it's time to awaken ourselves to greater and better things. And what better time than now than to hit the reset button and really, really push forward and allow yourself to have these new skills, allow yourself to have these new ways, and really go deeper and deeper, so that when you actually go back into the so-called social field or the work field or the public field, you're going to be a different person. And I'll share why. Anybody that knew me or knows me knows that I'm a very quiet person behind closed doors, everything. Why? Because I'm always conserving, I'm always building, always so-called cultivating, nurturing. Why? Because you always have to be prepared for that moment that you never know, that all of a sudden maybe it's a new client, maybe it's a new big-time person that you can't name their name, but they ask for complete anonymous, protection, and they want to have as much of that as possible, but they need your help. And you have to be prepared so that when you're on the phone, you're not stuttering, you're not shaking in your boots, you're not worrying about how you're going to come off, because you have the pedigree and the upbringing that when that happens, you're ready to go. Mm-hmm. And so for you, whether it be your job, whether it be for what you're doing, are you ready to go? Are you ready to build that momentum? Are you ready to change at a sliver or at a single second? Are you ready to move on and past all the things that are holding you back and are you going to still think the way you want to think? Or are you going to allow yourself to think in a much better way that can really expand that lens so that you can really open more doors?
Exactly. So we have a few comments, and these comments, I've seen 3 of them about meditation. So we have, I love how many global live meditations there are, like never before. We have another person saying that they've been practicing meditation. And we have another person saying that I can concentrate in my meditation. I have nothing to worry. So I think that what we want to share, we want to talk about meditation.
Yeah.
And we're doing something actually really special this next weekend. And so we can get into more details later, so make sure you stay tuned for it. But we want to bring all of the ancient wisdom, the culture, and the really specialness that Herman has been practicing and developing his entire life, and bring it to you in such a simple to understand yet practical way, so that you can really get the results that you want. You can find peace, clarity, and purpose, and really make your life better. So we're going to be sharing that. More details are going to be linked in the description and in the bio, so check it out there. But I know, Herman, just as much as we talk about things that are good to do, I mean, there's also things that you mentioned that probably I can see a lot of people doing this. And number 1, you mentioned the diet. So a lot of people, when they're home and they get bored, I mean, they kind of just, because I've done this before, you just wander to the kitchen, open up the fridge, open up the pantry, and you just look there, and it becomes a bad habit. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people should be very cautious of, to not fall into that. I think another thing is really spending or wasting too much time on distractions, because you're home, distractions are all around you. You got the TV, you got the news, you have social media, which these things can be used for a positive, but a lot of people tend to spend too much time in it, and it becomes a distraction. So, you know, I think if you can ensure that you don't fall into those traps, then you can use your time for something more positive and for something more productive, like we're talking about, so you can actually improve yourself. And by the time that, you know, you're ready, it's like, this is like the off season. By the time you come back, you're a new person. You're better than you ever were before. Are there any other of those traps that we should be aware of, Herman? Like, we know the snacking, we know the media consumption. Anything else that we should consider?
So I'll give you an example. When I work with a lot of high performance athletes, this is what we do. So we go through like a whole system. So let's say your team didn't make it in the playoffs, so your off season started early, right? Does it mean you just kick back and just sit, do nothing, and wait until it's training camp? Or does that mean that you have all that extra time now to get in your reps, get in the skills, get in the areas that are a weakness and make it into a strength? Let's say you don't have a left hand. Let's say you don't have great vision. Let's say you don't have great defense. You got to work on all those weaknesses. Otherwise, someone better is going to come along, take your position, and replace you, and you're not going to get a contract.
Yep.
You're going to be bounced out of the league very quick. So what you have to do, you got to get the reps in. You got to get the focus in. You got to make sure that you get the experience. Here's something that people are not doing. They don't view this as, this is the beginning of that off season, and we're in the off season right now. Okay? If we're in the off season, you have to build the skills there, because championships are not won in training camp. They are not necessarily won in the regular season. They are won in the off season. It's because that's when they put in the most amount of reps. They got the most amount of experience. Case in point, every single time, let's say it's Olympics, let's say it's the FIBA championships, and you look in, let's say NBA, you look at all the players that played in there, you would think that their bodies would be tired, that they would be mentally exhausted, that they wouldn't have enough to go into a full regular season and then go into the playoffs. But after they're surrounded by so much winning culture, after that culture has now become them, after those habits have set in, all of a sudden, that off season became their training camp. The training camp was the acclimation of their teammates, and the regular season was the warm-up. So by the time they got to the playoffs, they were so seasoned, they performed at such a high level They didn't even have to put the same effort anymore mentally because physically they were already there. They didn't have to trick themselves and say, I need to have motivation to go do it. They didn't have to trick themselves and say, you know what, I need someone to tell me what to do. What did they do? They put in the work every single time. And instead of using the word work, they called it play.
Mm-hmm.
So mentally, they changed the word, one word, 4 letters, one word, they changed it. And all of a sudden, when people go and pay these big bucks to go see them live, they don't say, oh, look, that person's working. Oh, look, that person's working. No, it's called play ball. It's called to play, right? You look at the plays they made, right? You didn't say the work they made, the plays they made. So that play allowed that athlete to now say, you know what? I don't mind the 3 days. I don't mind waking up at 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I don't mind putting in all that extra work. I don't mind putting in all that because I view it as play at the end of the day. And for a lot of people, they view their job as work and only as that. They don't play with it. They don't have fun with it. They don't have the ability to change it because it just is work. We have to change it to be play, because when we help people all around the world, it's all about making sure like they don't get so hung up on themselves. They don't get so hard on themselves. They don't beat themselves up. They don't like have all that negative talk. And that's a good segue to say, you know what? A lot of you are isolated. This mind of yours will start to play games, especially if it's not disciplined. And so for a lot of people, they need to learn meditation so that this will no longer play those games on you.
Exactly. And that's why they need to be at the meditation masterclass. If you don't know how to meditate, let's say you have been meditating, but you don't have the results you want. Let's say you've been meditating for a long time and you just want to take yours to the next level. This is the place to be, because for me, I never meditated until I experienced a meditation guided by Herman. And I know a lot of people say the same thing that get to experience it. And that's why we want to bring it to you, because we want to give you that complete control and discipline over your mind so that anything you say you're going to do, you actually do it. And you can just have that focus, clarity, so that you get the results you need. I mean, this is like the off season. So we need to make the most of it, and we need to capitalize and, you know, create a great opportunity out of what most people are fearful, panicking, and afraid of. You know, instead of spending all that energy and time being afraid, like, let's go on the offense. Not to say that you shouldn't be cautious, because again, like, we all have to play a role in solving this. So we want to help you elevate, and this is where you need to be if you're ready for that.
Agreed. And one thing we can all learn a lesson from is, we all remember, everything starts usually with one person, whether it was a mistake, whether it was something positive, it always starts with the one. So in Chinese, we usually say 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, 3 becomes 10,000. So that can go both ways. It could be one person did something wrong to another, that second person did something wrong to another person, then that one person did wrong to everyone. It can go both ways, which means, okay, you know what? I understand I have a responsibility. So one says, you know what? I'm going to make sure that I practice good hygiene. Okay, 1. I'm going to practice making sure that I am respectful of your space, other people's space. 2, I'm respectful to understand, like, this is a time to rejoice and for us to become stronger and closer together than ever before. 3 gives rise to 10,000 things. So all of a sudden, we have to change how we view it. And a lot of people, what they don't realize, Angelo, and everyone watching and listening, if you look back, and let's say we look back into the 90s, there was no cell phone. There was a car phone. Let's say we go back to 1990, there was no cell phone. So I'm going to ask you, if you were upset, Angelo, with somebody, and they really peeved you, and you left that party or get together and they really peeved you, and then you went home, and let's say it took an hour to get home, could you literally on that drive say something, do something, anything to that one person if you were driving? Or did you have to wait all the way until you got home before you called them? You would probably wait until you got home. So
Yep.
here's the next part. There's a reason why we're doing this. Now, let's say, because you don't have a cell phone, back in 1990, if you had bad news, what would happen? You would either watch TV or you would get it from a relative or people you knew as friends on the phone, be on the phone nonstop while watching the news. Like that's how it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But today, how does it work? You get so-called data, not even information, data forced to you faster than you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think it spreads a lot of the negativity or the depression or the anxiety or the fear or the hysteria?
Exactly.
You can't take it. It's too much. There's no limit. There's no discipline to put a filter. No one trained you to put a filter. Too ignorant to put a filter. And so what happens? You just become consumed by it. And the powers that be are just laughing it up.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how sensationalism works.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to consume it, lap it all up. And what happens if your tank can only hold so much and you overconsume, then where are you going to put it? You have nowhere to put it, but you force feed it.
Mm-hmm.
It causes major trauma. And it feeds off of your insecurities. And then when it feeds off your insecurities, what happens? Then you no longer really think straight and you operate out of emotion instead. That is hysteria. And when you operate out of emotion instead, it makes you very weak because you're not in control.
Exactly. You're completely vulnerable to whatever is being put out there. And it's like you're a puppet.
Yeah.
So the reason why we're sharing this with everybody is because we want you to have control. We don't want that cycle to happen for you.
And here's the thing. If you allow that to be where all your time goes, Angelo, how much time would you have to do something productive?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. So wouldn't it be best for us to take a little responsibility, be a little more responsible to ourselves, to our families, to our loved ones that depend on us? It's time to refocus. It's time to think bigger. It's time to really understand what it means to really have a game plan, what it means to have a playbook, what it means to design one. You got to get it all out. Whiteboard, notebook, whatever it is, you got to get it out of here and start putting dots together. You know, get it out of here and then connect those dots after. And you need to have that playbook ready to go so that you're ready for when things start to recover, when things start to increase, when things start to reopen, when things start to go back to what people consider to be a new norm. You got to be ready. And it's very important.
Mm-hmm. So when we talk about like going back to the norm, as we say, do you think that this will have some everlasting impacts on humanity and how we move forward?
Big time. Big time. How do you think the people who went through war were affected, Angelo?
For me, like I've said this has probably been one of the, when I look back on my time here so far, I mean, this has definitely been the biggest world event that I've ever experienced. I mean, there's been some big ones. I was younger, but I mean, right now, like it's such a big event. And I know that things aren't going to be changed forever. Some things will be. And that's just where we need to continue to evolve. And that's why, Herman, you always say, like, you always need to be evolving. And if you don't evolve, then you're not going to be at the top of your game. Whatever game that is, whatever profession you're in, whatever, you know, purpose you're fulfilling here, you can't be at the top if you're not willing to evolve. So it's an opportunity for you to really step up your game. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a more productive way for everybody to view this, rather than a victim, like I have to stay at home, and just falling into all these distractions and then just piling up more and more clutter and debt than you even had before.
Mm-hmm. You have to learn to take a negative and turn it into something useful.
Mm-hmm.
Most people on this planet think or haven't learned how to think. And so here's how they usually think. They have something negative, pour me. Something negative, why me? Something negative, pour me again. And it's like they always want the pity card. Those are the people always looking to scam a system or look for a way to cheat a system that was designed to help people, but they do wrong. And so then a system that was designed to help a lot of people then is no longer in effect, and then nobody wins. No system for nobody. So here's what we have to do. When you have a negative problem or a negative situation, the idea of it is to first not view it as completely negative. The idea of it is that it's test time, you're in a test, and until you are ready to step up, take full responsibility, and continue going at it until you pass that level or that test, you will consistently and constantly be faced with a test or a similar test.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are tested financially. Okay, great. Things are not great for a lot of people on this planet. We understand. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It just means now is the test time. Do you really, truly understand finance? Do you really understand investment? Do you understand when to invest in a market, when not to invest? Do you understand what you can do with capital versus what you are currently doing with the capital that little you do have, right? Is it going into end consumer products or goods and services? Or is it going into something where it's invested, earning you what you call investment income? You see, you never spend the principal, you only spend the interest. That's how the rich stay rich. Everybody's earning principal and they are going they're borrowing principal from other people at an interest. So
Exactly.
it's so difficult to even earn a small amount of principal. So a lot of people need to get financially literate. A lot of people need to become responsible for where they are. They were dealt a hand, fine, we understand. It's not the end of the world. There's always a way to understand how to change your hand. There's always new skills to be learned. You can become so valuable right now. Everybody has so much value inside of them. It's whether or not you're going to put in the blood, sweat, and tears and allow yourself to draw out that playbook so that when it comes time to execute that play, you're ready to go. You have this skill set, you have the experience. But if you're looking for handout, very difficult, because that's when you just keep recycling that type of mentality all over again.
Exactly. And if you need help with your playbook or your game plan or your next steps, like that's why we exist. We exist to help you develop that, help you execute that, help you get the results that you want. So just reach out. I mean, that's what we're here for. That's why we're doing the meditation masterclass, because this is, no matter who you are, no matter what you do with your life, breath will always be a part of your existence. And not too many people have learned the true essence of that. I'm learning it. And that is why this is the foundation. That's why we're starting here. And that's why we invite you to join us for the meditation masterclass. That's going to be this upcoming Saturday, the 28th of March. So we invite you to join. All of the details are in the description, and you don't want to miss this. And if you need any help or support whatsoever, we invite you to reach out, because we want to help you during these times and throughout any time.
And this was specifically designed to help people take what they consider to be meditation, but really know how to do it the right way, learn how to expand on it. And this is where we call our starting point.
Exactly. So do you have your starting point? Have you really built that solid foundation and really mastered the fundamentals? If not, or if you are, this is your place. This was designed for you.
Exactly.
So we thank each and every person for tuning in. Herman, do you have any other thoughts that you want to share?
Get off the couch and get moving.
Exactly. Time waits for no one. So let's become better every single day. And we will see you on the next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Leave comments below. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know what you're up to. Let us know what resonated with you in this episode. Let's get connected with each other. And one more thing before we go, I heard a quote, or I saw a quote, and it said, you know, since we can't go outside, let's go inside. And so we want to take you on that journey on this masterclass inside.
Yes.